Hello, this is Roberto and this is the HVAC is my channel. Today we're going to be talking about applicable codes by location. All right, so let's get into it. Okay, to begin with, see if we have a project, so I'm going to draw a building here, and that building can also be a house. So it's a project, right? So this is a building and the building has windows, right? We have windows. Okay, so in the building we need to do a lot of systems, a lot of types of design. For example, we need to do the mechanical design. Okay, mechanical, so that's going to include the HVAC design, the ductwork, ventilation, and everything. So we're going to have the plumbing design. See, plumbing design, that's going to be again the domestic water, sanitary, and then electrical. See, we have electrical design. We have fire protection. Okay, we have fire protection, and then we have energy conservation, right? Energy conservation, and we have a lot more. So typically the owner hires an architect and the architect hires consultants. So this is called the MEP, right? MEP consultant, MEP, mechanical, electrical, and plumbing. And he also hires some fire protection, energy consultants. We call them green guys. No, just kidding. So for this, what we need is we need to understand the location. I mean the code. What code are we going to be applying in this case? But now that code depends on the location. Okay, see, that's why I'm changing this the color. So the location could be in Washington DC, Virginia, New York City, but depending on the location, what we have is let's put this into more perspective. For example, we have the International Mechanical Code. International Mechanical Code. All right. And then in short, this is IMC, right? So here it comes. Here is the difficulty. So IMC, International Mechanical Code, have different years. For example, we have 2015, we have International Mechanical Code 2018, even 21. So which one is applicable by location, right? So the other one is that, for example, we're going to have the standards, right? ASHRAE, see ASHRAE. Okay, ASHRAE, and for ventilation, let's talk about ventilation. This is going to be 62.1. But again, which year are we talking about? Are we talking about ASHRAE 2010? So we're going to put in here 2010. Are we going to use 2013? Are we using 2016? Which one, right? So we have to keep that into consideration when we're doing our design. Or international, see, the energy conservation code is going to be based on the international energy conservation code. Energy conservation, it's long, right? Code. Okay, energy conservation code. So in short, this is going to be in short IECC, right? IECC. But again, which year? So are we going to be using the 2015, 2018, 2021? So this is just an example on the codes, and we need to be so clear about which code are we going to be using. For example, by location, let's see in here, by location, we're going to put this in pink. Let's say that we are analyzing Washington DC, okay? And we're gonna do more examples. For example, New York City or Virginia, Washington District of Columbia. So in Washington District of Columbia, the applicable code is the IMC 2015, okay? And ASHRAE, it's most likely gonna be 2013. And then I'm talking about the year when we're recording this video. The year when we're recording this video is as of 2023, because as the years go by, then they change the codes, right? So International Conservation Code, I'm not very sure, to be honest, but I'm gonna double check that online, because that's the purpose of this video. When we're not very sure, we need to double make sure which code is applicable. So in this case, we're going to put 2013 for Washington, D.C., and then we're going to put 2018 for now in Energy Conservation Code. And also, we don't have to get confused, because when we go online, sometimes you're going to see that Washington or District of Columbia Mechanical Code or Building Code or Energy Conservation Code of DC. So that's where it comes this video very useful, because they are pretty much the same. Okay. All right. So lastly, before we go and check online how to obtain these resources, how to know which mechanical code is applicable, I want to give an example. So in mechanical systems, see, our step number one most often is to do the ventilation calculation. See, ventilation. So if we want to do the ventilation calculation as I showed in my other videos, outside there is going to be equal to RP, right? PZ plus it's going to be RA AZ, right? Divided by distribution effectiveness. All right. So this is, as everyone remembers, this is people rate. This is number of people, area rate, surface area. But overall, the message is this comes from tables. The tables are based on IMC. You have two options for ventilation. IMC 2015. Why 15? Again, location. We're talking about Washington, D.C. So let's put in here 2015, and let's put in here parentheses Washington, D.C. And again, the year today that I'm making this video is 2023. And now there is also another option in here. What about ASHRAE, right? So which ASHRAE are we going to be talking about in DC? They are pretty much the same. But what if we're talking about Virginia, right? In Virginia, we're going to be using IMC 2018. Why? Because that's what Virginia establishes, right? That's going to be in Virginia. All right, so that's why it's very interesting. Now, if we want to apply the energy conservation code for Washington DC, which one, right, or which ASHRAE? So we need to check that. So a very good resource is to go to, there is a website that's very useful, and I'm going to put this below. This is called Upcodes. So you go, so I'm going to go to Google. So go to Google. We're going to go to Google and then put Upcodes. See, Upcodes. When you use this website Upcodes, which is free, you can always put the location, and then this is going to give you all the codes that you need. And that's going to be the second part of this video. So let's get into this second part. Okay, so we have Google in here. So as we said in the video, we want to find out the applicable codes for Washington, D.C. So for Washington, D.C., what you're going to do is go to Google. In Google, you're going to put District of Columbia or Washington, D.C. in fact. So let's put in here Washington, D.C. Upcodes. So Upcodes is actually the website, and this is a very good resource. So Washington DC Upcodes, you press enter, and once you press enter, you're gonna find out that in here District of Columbia you have all of these codes, as you can see. So District of Columbia building codes, and what is more interesting for me as a mechanical designer is to find out what is the International Mechanical Code. As we can see in here, District of Columbia building codes, we have in residential 2017, we have what we wanted. See, DC Plumbing Code 2017. So Washington DC actually actually follows the DC or Washington DC Mechanical Code 2017, which is pretty much the IMC 2015. So that's what we follow, right? But now the question comes very interesting here, because if we want to do our ventilation calculation, we're gonna find our rates from IMC 2015, right? But what if also you want to follow the ASHRAE standard for ventilation? For example, ASHRAE 62.1. So which ASHRAE, which year? Is it ASHRAE 2015? No, it doesn't go like that, because whenever you click in here, you're gonna find out, see, DC Mechanical Code 2015, there is application in here where it says chapter 15 referenced standards. So when you click on reference standards, you have all the standards in here that are applicable. So in here you have the ASHRAE, right? So in ASHRAE you have in here ASHRAE 62.1 2013. So in other words, for ASHRAE 62.1, you have the ASHRAE 2013 applicable for Washington DC, because remember, in ASHRAE you had ASHRAE 2010, you have ASHRAE 2013, you have ASHRAE 2016. So in this case, we have International Mechanical Code 2015 for Washington DC and ASHRAE 62.1 2013. So what about the other one? So we're going to check also on the other code, which is International Mechanical Code, not really, actually the International Energy Conservation Code. So which energy are they following? So we need to check on that. So in here it says the Washington DC Energy Conservation Code 2017. So they have their own code, but this is based on ASHRAE 90.1, which is the energy standard, right, for ASHRAE. But which year? 2013. So actually we're following the ASHRAE standard 2013. And there we go. See, it's the 2013. And then we have more. See, the fire protection, NFPA, we have fire alarm code, all the codes that are applicable in here. All right, there we go. So in this case, let's go to the energy conservation code. And if we're talking about residential, see, in residential, actually, it is, so in the video before, in the part number 1, I was saying 2018, but it's actually IECC 2015 it says in here. See, energy conservation code, residential provisions, IECC 2015. So this is the energy conservation code for commercial, ASHRAE 90.1 2013. So we go there, see, and then when we go there, we're gonna have also some references in here. We have the code itself. See, in here, let's go check in the normative references. You have more normative references in here, so you can dig even deeper and deeper and deeper in here. So we have a lot of references in here. All right, so this is a very good resource. And now again, so this is Upcodes, but you can always go online and put District of Columbia codes. See, building codes, DC Council Code of District of Columbia. And also, if you live in another country, you might use this very useful. You might have this very useful because the applicable codes, they don't change so much, but they make amendments. So I am in the DC website, DC Department of Buildings, DOB. So every location or state or even city, big cities, they have their own website, their own building code website. So if I go to Washington, DC, I have the DC construction codes, and they tell you in DC, you have this available for you to download online for free. Don't buy it, it's for free. So in here it says the code for buildings are 2017 building code. We're not talking about mechanical, we're talking about building code. We're saying about, see, 2017 District of Columbia Energy Conservation Code. So if you click in there, you're gonna be able to download the complete code. See, you click in that, and then now you have the DC Energy Code 2017 available for you to use. See, this is you can download this DC Energy Conservation Code 2017. All right, so in here we go. So why do we use the Energy Conservation Code? See, mainly because in the beginning of the design, you don't have the envelope values. You don't have what's the thickness of your, the walls. You don't know the U factor. You don't know the, insulation values of your building, because they are still developing your building. So you're not gonna wait for the architect to provide, hey, here are the insulation values for your building. So what we do is we go to the applicable code by location, and then we use this energy conservation code to establish minimum insulation codes by location and climate zones. See, as you can see in here, properties, U factors, C factors, see? And there is a very interesting table in specific. So that table is, let me double check. Yeah, I was trying to find it. So it's actually in C31, C32. So there is this table that says building envelope requirements for depending on the climate zone. This is for climate zone number 4, which is Washington, DC. And it lets you know about the walls, see, insulation, minimum insulation, continuous insulation, or combined. So these are the U factors and minimum insulation values. And that's why it's so important to know which applicable code. All right. So for example, let's go in the case of Washington, DC, not really, Virginia. So let's go for Virginia. And what we're going to do in here is going to put Virginia mechanical code, but Upcodes, right? Virginia Upcodes. There we go. So in the state of Virginia, you're going to check you're gonna have all these building codes, right? So in my case, we need the mechanical code, which one is applicable. So in Virginia, they have their own code, which is Virginia Mechanical Code 2018, based on IMC 2018. All right, so if you click in there, you see this Virginia. You can always go to this. We need the ventilation table. You can resort to this, and then all the tables that you wanted to get for for ventilation, so you have it available. See, occupant density depending on the occupancy category or classification. And if you want to refer to the ASHRAE, you're gonna check in here the following. Let me double check on here. Refrigeration, hydronic. You go back. Let's see Virginia plumbing code, mechanical code. Okay, so let's check in here. Virginia refrigeration, hydronic. There you go. Chapter 15, you have the reference standards. So in here you have ASHRAE 62.1. See, 62.1 2016, right? So you have the applicable ASHRAE. Now we're gonna double check again with New York City. But now, depending on the county, sometimes big cities have their own code. For example, if you want to check on New York City, let's double check on here, New York City. I mean, not New York City, but it's going to be, let's check in here, New York State, Upcodes, right? Upcodes. So if you're talking about New York City, New York State building codes, you go to the Upcodes. So I need the ventilation. So they use the New York State Mechanical Code 2020, which is based on IMC 2018, right? So if you go there and you go here to the reference standards, you also have which standards you have. ASHRAE, for example, they use ASHRAE 62.1 2013 in here, right? Okay, so that's for New York State. But however, New York City is a big city. Sometimes they also have their own codes and regulations, right? So if you don't, so you have to check in depending on the city or on the county, and they in their website they will show you which code is applicable. So let's go to the New York City code. Let's continue in Upcodes actually. So we're gonna go here, New York City Upcodes. See, New York City Upcodes itself, New York City itself, they have their own codes, and then in here, New York City, see, they apply the New York City Mechanical Code 2022, which is based on IMC 2015. You click on there, and then you go to the reference in here, reference standards, and then ASHRAE again. The ASHRAE they use is based on 2016. So we're using the years for applicable codes for New York City. And now also, if you want to see more specific this New York City, or you want to see if this code is applicable for New York State or New York City, they have their own website, right? So you can go New York City building codes. So if you go to the New York City building codes, there we go. New York City codes building, NYC codes buildings, and they will let you know which codes are applicable. See in here it says 2022 construction codes, building, fuel gas, mechanical code. So if you go to the mechanical code, and also the energy conservation code that they use is 2020 right there, right? And the building mechanical code is 2022. Let's go to the mechanical code itself, and they have their own code. See, mechanical code, and I could do my ventilation, exhaust systems, and all of that I wanted. And then reference standards. Unfortunately, this is not done. We cannot download this, but you can see in here that they have still ASHRAE 62.2 or 62.1 2016. All right. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, leave any comment and subscribe and share. All right. Thanks for watching. HVAC is my channel. I'll see you in the next video.